Welcome to the debate. Today we're diving deep into one of the most compelling strategic developments, really shaping the future of global resources. That's the intense focus on consolidation involving Anglo American and Teck, and this conceptual mega operator that the market has sort of termed the $53 billion copper giant.
It is a staggering potential valuation, certainly. But the sheer scale of combining two such distinct and, geographically diverse portfolios, it demands some serious intellectual rigor, I think.
Absolutely. And our core debate today is focused really not on the mechanics of that precise $53 billion figure, but more on the strategic necessity, or perhaps the liability, of creating a combined entity of this magnitude. I mean, does the consolidation of these critical copper assets represent a necessary move toward efficiency and stability needed to power the energy transition? Or does this concentration primarily introduce unmanageable systemic market risks, maybe complexity that ultimately undermines the benefits of scale?
And I contend the risks far outweigh the promised benefits. I come at this from the perspective that, unprecedented scale often obscures unforeseeable liabilities. You don't always see what's coming.
Right. And my position is that the consolidation is fundamentally an indispensable strategic imperative. Only through this level of kind of pooled resources can the industry really meet the competitive demands and, crucially, the supply security required for the future.
And I'll be arguing that focusing purely on sheer corporate scale introduces untenable market concentration risk and, frankly, paralyzing organizational complexity that even the best management teams would struggle mightily to overcome.
Okay, let me start by grounding this consolidation in the reality of modern mining. We are looking at unprecedented surging demand for copper. I mean, it's not just a gradual increase, right? It's almost a parabolic rise driven by electrification, grid hardening, massive EV adoption. The list goes on.
That's the motivation driving the strategy, yes. No one disputes the demand picture.
Exactly. So to meet that demand, we need capital, lots of it. The current generation of copper projects, they often require CapEx exceeding $8 billion just for initial development. And they're frequently located in challenging environments, deep underground, low-grade ore bodies, you name it. A consolidated entity of this size, it achieves critical, almost unique economies of scale. It possesses the financial durability, the deep capital reserves necessary to execute these high-cost, high-risk projects that, frankly, fragmented producers simply cannot finance independently. Combining the operational footprints of Anglo American and Teck, and specifically leveraging their complementary strengths, allows this new mega operator to optimize capital allocation globally, forcing down per unit production costs far below what either could likely achieve alone.
Okay, that's a compelling argument based on capital accessibility. I grant you that. But I would frame the result very differently. While the concept of a mega operator promises this kind of operational prowess, I see inherent vulnerabilities related to market power and, maybe more importantly, diminishing returns to scale kicking in.
Explain the market risk component a bit more. What's the core worry there?
My core concern is market concentration. It's pretty straightforward. If this consolidated entity controls a substantial fraction of the world's seaborne copper supply, and it inevitably gains undue leverage just by its size, this affects pricing, negotiation terms, and crucially access for smaller downstream manufacturers, the innovators in the energy transition space, the ones developing new battery tech or grid solutions. They rely on stable, competitive inputs. History shows time and again that when a commodity market becomes dominated by one or perhaps two major players, competition suffers. And that ultimately stifles innovation in sectors reliant on that supply. So my concern is that we sacrifice competitive dynamism for a perhaps illusory sense of centralized stability.
I see why you emphasize that risk. But I'd argue the scale itself facilitates efficiency precisely because it forces the rationalization and implementation of best practices across the entire combined domain. The strategic motivation for the merger, the process behind it, is specifically designed to optimize operations, not merely to accumulate bulk for its own sake.
I'm sorry, but I just don't quite buy that direct causality. Let me tell you why. Operational reality. The second major risk I see is pure operational complexity. We are talking about integrating two incredibly distinct corporate cultures. Anglo American, with its vast South African and South American heritage, and Teck, rooted strongly in North America with its own specific technical expertise. And doing that across hugely diverse regulatory and labor landscapes. We have seen time and again in the resource sector, just reference the difficulties in integrating giants like Xstrata and Glencore. Bureaucratic bloat and integration failures are often the norm, not the exception in mergers of this scale. The theoretical synergies that look so good in spreadsheets are often consumed by the sheer organizational drag.
Okay, let's focus on that friction versus strategic synergy point. You highlight sort of generic integration friction, but the strategic decision to merge, the motivation, is precisely based on combining specific, non-overlapping strengths. For instance, combining Teck's lower altitude Chilean operations with Anglo American's high altitude assets. Well, that provides immediate operational flexibility and geographical risk diversification. Furthermore, combining their technological expertise, perhaps Teck's advanced hydrometallurgical processing skills, with Anglo's deep porphyry mining experience, that potentially unlocks reserves that would have been previously too challenging or uneconomical for either company acting alone. The integration plan is the core product here. The $53 billion valuation is simply the projected outcome of realizing those specific planned synergies.
But that assumes perfect managerial execution from day one, doesn't it? Which is an extremely high hurdle to clear. When you combine complex, multi-jurisdictional operations, navigating vastly different labor laws in Peru versus Canada, for example, or dealing with distinct political risks in entirely different continents, the cost of harmonization, just getting everyone on the same page, is immense. I really challenge whether modern management techniques can truly overcome the complexity inherent in running this kind of global entity without sacrificing local responsiveness, which is absolutely vital in politically sensitive regions. Does the inevitable organizational drag and the required high level of sustained regulatory scrutiny that comes with being this big, does that truly outweigh the promised future value creation that forms the basis of that $53 billion valuation? Is the math really there in practice?
Well, the alternative is arguably guaranteed underinvestment across the sector. The massive capital needs today mean that scale is almost a precondition for sustained production growth. Only a combined entity, I believe, has the leverage to truly optimize capital across such a diverse portfolio, deploying the most advanced processing techniques, like, say, using AI for predictive maintenance across all sites where they yield the greatest return. The motivation here is survival and strategic leadership in what is an incredibly demanding market. It's about positioning for the future.
Okay, if we can maybe step back from the organizational chart for a moment, let's look at our second main point of contention: securing supply versus introducing systemic industry risk.
Please, go ahead.
You argue that this new consolidated entity stabilizes the market by securing a massive supply pipeline. Fair enough. I argue the inverse. Reliance on one single mega operator for such a critical, foundational commodity actually creates systemic risk. Copper is non-negotiable for the global economy, for the energy transition, so any major concentrated disruption, think about a singular, devastating labor dispute in Chile affecting key combined assets, or a severe weather event hitting a major centralized processing hub, or maybe a geopolitical disruption specifically targeting this new corporate structure. Any of those would have a catastrophic concentrated impact on global industrial output, particularly on sectors like specialized manufacturing or grid infrastructure development. We essentially consolidate the operational risk instead of diversifying it across multiple players.
I see why that appears risky on the surface, but I'd argue that fragmentation, having lots of smaller players, is the true source of volatility and potential systemic failure. Smaller players inherently lack the financial resilience to weather the intense commodity cycles common in mining. When a downturn hits, what happens? Smaller producers slash CapEx, or they go offline completely. This leads to supply whiplash when demand inevitably returns. That volatility creates supply deficits and wild price spikes, which to me is the very definition of market instability. The resilience of the consolidated entity lies in its massive financial durability and its asset diversification. This ensures continuous necessary investment, regardless of short-term economic fluctuations, which is the absolutely necessary condition for meeting those aggressive global demand targets we talked about earlier.
That definition of stability fundamentally overlooks the supply shock vulnerability inherent in concentrating so much production within a single massive entity, which is genuinely better for the long-term health of the copper market. Stable supply secured by one integrated mega operator, which carries a high single point of failure risk, or stable pricing and resilience ensured by robust competition among several well-capitalized, maybe mid-sized producers. The latter, I argue, diffuses risk much more effectively by ensuring redundancy in the supply chain. It's less fragile.
But fragmentation practically guarantees underinvestment in the necessary gargantuan projects that actually move the needle on global supply. The market requires massive, reliable production increases that, realistically, only the pooled resources and the sheer scale of the combined Anglo American and Teck portfolios can reliably deliver. We need scale not just to raise capital, but also to manage the rising geopolitical complexity and the increasing regulatory hurdles of accessing and operating these resources globally. You could argue this transaction is defensive as much as it is expansive. It's about guaranteeing long-term access by creating an entity robust enough to withstand jurisdictional pressures and invest through the cycle.
But access controlled by a single point severely limits choices for downstream buyers, doesn't it? If this consolidated portfolio faces an unforeseen regulatory roadblock in a key jurisdiction, or if it strategically decides perhaps to prioritize margin over volume for a period, the entire global market feels the pinch immediately. That level of concentration actively diminishes the overall resilience of the industrial system that depends on copper. I'm just not convinced that the causality holds that scale inherently mitigates risk. It often simply concentrates it in one, potentially more fragile place.
The sheer volume of copper needed globally, I think, ensures that scale production will remain the priority for any major player. Furthermore, the efficiency gained through combined logistics and optimized mining plans actually mitigates disruption risk across the entire diversified portfolio, making it arguably less vulnerable, not more, than a smaller company reliant on a single mine or region.
Efficiency is theoretical until it successfully survives the political, the cultural, and the operational realities of a multi-billion-dollar integration process. That's the hurdle.
Okay, to summarize my position, ultimately, the consolidation of Anglo American and Teck's copper assets represents a rational, arguably defensive, and necessary strategic response. It squarely addresses the fundamental economic realities. Massive global demand, coupled with an intensely high capital expenditure environment, require to extract and process this critical resource efficiently. Scale, in this context, mitigates global risk by ensuring long-term supply stability.
And to conclude my view, while the potential valuation is certainly attractive on the surface, the long-term cost of sacrificing competition and accepting increased organizational complexity and that inherent single point of failure risk we've discussed is simply too high a price to pay. We must urge caution regarding the assumed, often unqualified benefits of sheer corporate scale, particularly when that scale is applied to a commodity as utterly foundational as copper.
Well, this discussion certainly highlights the profound strategic issues surrounding large-scale industrial consolidation in the resource sector today, the operational success, or lack thereof, in blending Anglo American and Teck's assets into this potential new entity. It will undoubtedly serve as a crucial long-term case study on whether synergy planning can genuinely preempt the often harsh reality of integration friction.
Indeed. The ultimate success, or perhaps failure in realizing that $53 billion in value will really determine whether the benefits of scale truly outweigh the immense costs of complexity and market concentration in the modern resource landscape. A lot hinges on this.
Plenty more to explore in the material as these strategies continue to unfold, that's for sure.
Always.